You believe in the devil, Father. I'm Daredevil. You believe in the devil, Father. I don't get to choose who I am. My delusion was thinking God had anything to do with it. I'm Daredevil. 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 Not even God can stop that now.
Hello, and welcome to the dingy manager's office of Hell's Kitchen, where we're dealing with customer complaints because the meal's just not hot enough. Yes, that's right, you're listening to the Daredevil cast. I am one of your co-hosts, Eammon Jacobs, and I'm joined by my partner in crime, but hopefully not murder. It is, of course,
Nick Staniforth.
You sound really pleased to be here.
Mate, let's just get this fucking over with. No, I'm joking. How have you been, mate? You alright?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I sat through some mediocre TV. I've done some work. It's been a day.
The sass. There's sass coming off his microphone today, folks. Honest to God.
How have you been, mate? You good?
Heavens. I'm alright, mate. I had to spend a bit of time researching, though, before this episode, because I was actually... I don't know. Are you familiar with Taekwondo? It's a sentence that was said in this episode. Fuck me. Jesus fucking Christ. Anyway, yeah, just let's crack on with this fucking shit show.
Jesus. We're on Born Again episode 7, Art for Art's Sake, when it should really be called A Villain for Villain's Sake. This week, the series picks up in the aftermath of Matt saving Angela Del Toro from Muse as the serial killer chooses his next victim. This then leads to the most disastrous therapy session you've ever seen.
I don't know, mate. I've seen The Sopranos.
You've seen The Sopranos. Meanwhile, talking of Sopranos, in the mayor's office, Fisk is still trying to navigate his strained relationship with Vanessa, while she juggles some of the criminal shenanigans that Fisk has neglected. Let's just fucking dive in. Jesus Christ.
Right, go on.
I mean,
talk to me.
Obviously, listeners, you can't see this, but Nick has automatically grabbed a stress ball, which should say everything.
No,
I think so. Let's put it bluntly. Like this episode starts with Matt and Heather and a bit of discussion about trauma. Matt is literally bleeding from his fight with Muse, and he's like, it's all fine.
Hold on. Might I interrupt you? We can't forget that it opens, if I'm not mistaken, with a sex scene in a shower.
I was getting to the steamy sex scene in the shower.
Yeah. Well, was it steamy? I mean, or was it?
I thought it was all right.
Was it a bottle of Volvic that had been left out in the sun for 20 minutes? Like, mate.
I didn't mind the sex scene. I thought it was all right. It was fine. It was
all right.
Not like that. It was just like I didn't
clip that, Eammon.
Oh, piss off. No, I didn't have any gripes with it. Is more what I mean. I thought it was fine. I preferred the scene afterwards where they're actually having a conversation for once that actually had meaning and wasn't just there to be like, hey, look, they're in love. Her pushing him on his trauma. I was like, oh, all right, hold him accountable. I like that. That's good.
Yeah. Once again, talking about his old friends, Karen and
that was a bit
that one that died.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, their chemistry still isn't great, but I feel like this was a step up from previous episodes. And look, it wasn't as bad. Come on, let's give it some credit.
Right. Here's what we need to do. We need to get through the heaven and hell section, because I'm going to make a conscious effort this week not to interrupt you, because I know my ADHD has been absolutely dominating these past however many episodes we've had. So I'm going to sit in silence whilst you go through your heaven section, which should take about 15 seconds, and then proceed to go into your hell section, which probably will take over the majority of the podcast, as will mine. But please, Eammon, if you may, can you give us your heaven section as soon as possible?
My heaven section is basically Heather calling Matt out on ignoring his trauma and not processing his feelings. I appreciated that. I feel like Matt does need to be held accountable for, not dealing with his shit, even though obviously not dealing with his shit is what gives us Daredevil in the first place. But as sort of character development goes, I liked that. I think it was a quieter moment that I know I've ripped on the series enough for not having these scenes that develop
Yeah.
them as people, and I feel like that actually did that rather than just them sat in a coffee shop going, "Oh yes, I'm a lawyer. Oh yes, I'm a psychiatrist." So yeah, that was part one of my heaven section. Part two is just 80% of the fight with Muse in Heather Glenn's office. Obviously, this is moving further on into the episode. It was just badass. It was great. It was cool seeing Matt utilize the billy clubs like in close combat again. He literally shot Muse with a grappling hook. That was fucking sick. And I loved the fact that when he did that and threw him to the floor, Muse's body just smeared blood across the white sheet. It was a canvas, it was a painting, it's a whole thing. And I just appreciated that. I liked that they lent into it. And realistically, he did bleed quite a lot. I think, quite often superhero shows and action shows and movies and stuff, if somebody gets stabbed, they're like, "Oh, it's all right, I'll be fine, I'll just put a bit of pressure on it." And there's not much blood. Here, he was like pissing blood, and I was like, good. Yeah. We're being semi-realistic here.
Yeah.
And that's all I have to say that's positive about that scene. Moving on. It's actually moving backwards. I've realised I've jumped around a bit. But basically, Powell getting his shit rocked again. I swear to God, if this if this man gets concussed again, he's going to have some severe brain damage. Matt bouncing a billy club off his noggin was just really satisfying.
If anything, he's becoming less of a reliable source for people to believe that Matt Murdock is Daredevil if he tells anyone, because they're like, "Mate, you all right?" Because you're standing a bit squiffy, like you're not quite.
You're swaying a bit.
You all right?
Is everything okay?
Yeah. You're you can't hold a fork. What's going on? Yeah, brilliant. I feel like he's involuntarily becoming like the Turk of Born Again, where he's just every time you see him, you're like, "Oh, what's going to happen this time?" Like, I want to see him at the end of the season, like comedically on a hospital bed, just in a full body cast, being like,
Looney Tunes
"There's a guy
style.
on Instagram I follow." Yeah, there's a guy on Instagram I follow. I've totally forgot his account name. He's definitely not listening, but he's a guy that like quotes. He does reactions to thugs who have been beaten up by like either Batman or Daredevil. And it's like real accounts where it's like, "Guy was blind but still kicked living shit at me. I don't understand what happened." like that's how I feel where we're getting at this point. Like, it was just hilarious that, and even Matt's like, "Oh fuck, like shit." Like,
not this guy again.
I
do think weirdly, I am getting a soft spot for Powell. I think you've hit the nail on the head there of like the Turk comparison. Or hit the billy club on the head. Sorry, there we go.
Brilliant.
There we go.
On the temple. I've got a potential theory that I will have to wait a few weeks to verify.
Go on.
About Powell. I can't tell you yet because I need for it like just bookmark this, right? Just bookmark this in regards to Nick's theory about Powell, right? You'll get it 100% by the season finale. I feel personally. That this whole statement that I'm making as I continue to filibuster will make total more sense in 3 weeks' time.
Cool. That definitely probably won't make sense.
Or won't make the podcast. We don't know. But yeah, go.
And then from there, I mean, I do have to say, I think the end of this episode is really cool. The way that it develops Vanessa and Fisk a little bit more. That felt, to borrow your favourite show of all time that you never shut the fuck up about, it borrowed from Sopranos a little bit, borrowed from The Wire a little bit. Fisk getting quote unquote ambushed in the restaurant for his henchman to shoot the other guy square in the head before he even does anything. I was just like,
thank you, Buck. Just carries on. Oh, so good.
It was calculated. It was Kingpin. It was just atmospheric, and it looked cool in the way that it was shot. Like, Fisk didn't react. He's like, I could not care less. That is a man who knows he has all the power. That was really something. And I think Vanessa, playing the game a little bit is really interesting. And it just added a little bit more depth in a way that the main plot of this episode just fucking didn't.
No. Yeah, true.
And And that's all that's in my heaven section.
Yeah, got you.
Oh, good God. I mean, we're going to have to... Yeah, let's...
Well, shall I do my heaven section?
I think you should,
first,
and then we can just
and
we
then
can
we'll
just
do the
collectively just get through the...
Go through hell together.
Yeah. Because that's what this whole
section,
podcast is.
It is. My heaven section. What we got? So I'll be honest, mine are brief and barely memorable because I think we are both the same opinion that I cannot quite comprehend how much of an absolute like nosedive personally for me this episode was in comparison to leading up to this. I think it's just bafflingly bad in certain areas for multiple reasons that I'll get into. My heaven section, I do like that obviously Matt's back in full swing as Daredevil, and I loved. I said it last week about, you know, we've had horny Murdoch, we've had loyal Murdoch, we've had vigilante Murdoch, we have a bit more detective Murdoch in going through Muse's paintings and essentially feeling out Heather's face on the paintings. I was like, and that realization of like, oh fuck, like the fact that he takes his gloves off and he's actually feeling it. One thing I noticed is like when he's going through some of them, and I was like, oh, is that because it's almost like a different texture? But he's not as quick to, like, he picks up a pencil drawing of it first. And I was like, oh, he can't feel that because it's not as thick as the blood and the paint and, do you know what I mean, X, Y, and Z. And then gradually as he starts to pick more of them up, they do get a lot redder. And he's like, oh shit, like, oh my God, like this is what it is. You're right. The fight is awesome because thankfully Muse is well trained in Taekwondo. Which we'll get to in the hell section as well.
Oh God! Fucking Taekwondo.
Love that. I love that whole fight. You're right; it's amazing. And also, like, for a superhero and a show that is consistently shot in either piss yellow, as we've previously discussed, or at night, to see this in quite a well lit office area, you know, when you think of an office fight in Daredevil, it's the Bulletin, which was like. Barely any lights were on. It's like the arse end of the evening. This is like 2 PM, and it just looks really good. Probably, as you've rightfully pointed out, like to get the blood spatters, to get that highlight of like the red on a very sort of, let's say, like, you know, sort of beige, yellowy sort of office area that's quite, you know, it's a therapist's office. Yeah. It's quite tranquil, and it's like, no, let's just cover this place in fucking blood. So yeah, that was great. What else? I loved the little conflict with Matt and Cherry.
That was cool.
And one of the lines being like, just remember, like, you would have called me. Yeah. Like you'd have, if this was a way back when, you'd have fucking called me about this. So like, I think it reminded me a lot of. You know, in the final season, Netflix's final season of Daredevil, where I think we talked about it, where Matt goes a bit off the rails, and that thing of Foggy being conflicted about, you know, we have to trust in the law, we have to, and it's like, it's not fucking working. I'm going on my own. Like Matt occasionally on edge is actually really fun, and it reminds me of, you know, it's you know, I'm going to drop some fucking comic lore in it, but like the part of the Red Fist saga, is it the Red Fist saga, where Matt's going a bit like lone gunman with Elektra, and the likes of like Spider-Man have to step in, and he's like, come like cross me and you'll see what happens. And this, I feel like Matt's etching into that area, particularly obviously because of the scenarios that happen, like the things that are happening, the risks and the people in danger that are closest to him, i.e. Heather and stuff. So yeah, I just think there are flickers of, you know, Charlie Cox is always consistently fucking brilliant in this. So like the moments where you see him tipping over the edge of a man that's like at the end of his rope is just really nice to see. But that is my limit on the heaven section. If I'm totally honest, that's your lot. That's all you got for me.
Well, I feel like we just need to address the fucked up serial killer in the room. This episode finally answers who Muse is. It answers what his motivations are, and kills him off. Like, to put it bluntly. And I think all of it was such a misstep and a disservice to the character. And I just feel like I feel like this is a Marvel problem. I don't think this is any one person's fault. I think this whole storyline has become a victim of the creative reshuffle that we've kind of talked about a little bit before. Where they took it back to the drawing board and just sort of, it feels like they've mashed a few things together, because the original sort of direction of the show was very much procedural, and then they reworked it, and I feel like this was the procedural element, and it just falls flat on its arse. We have the moment where I've forgotten the character's name off the top of my head, but the detective goes to Fisk and explains that they found their guy, and it's just not great. Bastian Cooper, it's played by a guy called Hunter Doohan, from Wednesday on Netflix.
Yes.
And that whole introduction and reveal is just so painfully
terrible.
It's painfully written. Like, it's exposition dump to the point of almost like parody. Like, you would see that in something like fucking Anchorman. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't fit the seriousness and the sort of elevated nature of this show, sort of, for lack of a better term. I know that sounds really wanky, considering this is a show about a guy who dresses in a devil costume and beats the shit out of thugs at night. But I just think it's, Kingpin says, like, oh, Bastian Cooper, who is he? And are you certain he's our guy? And then you get this, he was voluntarily committed at 15, 17 and 20. How familiar are you with Taekwondo? What the fuck are we doing?
Mate, like, as soon as she said that, and he's like, oh, I'm more of a boxer myself. And it's like, well, he was really well trained. His parents picked the best. Like, the way you've hit the nail on the head, right, in terms of like the sort of exposition and sort of building up this character that we are now being introduced across 2 episodes. They try and do the Kaiser Soze reveal with Muse of like the final sort of Chaz Palminteri's light bulb moment at the end of The Usual Suspects, where he's putting all the pieces together, except we've never seen the jigsaw puzzle in front of us this whole season. Like, there is nothing. It would even, like, to compare it, you're talking about how this is handled. It's almost very similar to last week's, about how we talked about the sort of parallels between Fisk and Matt, and they're both sort of reawakenings of both characters, and how one side is really well handled and the other one is just dross. And this is exactly the same, where you've got like kind of a good, I'd say tolerable, revelatory moment of, this is Muse, this is why he's after Heather, this is where he's come from. And then it's like fucking Fisk's aid, like you say, like, are you familiar with Taekwondo? Like, cool, yeah. I'm not, like, I don't know Taekwondo. I fucking know its existence. Like, I'm familiar with its work. Like, what are we doing? Like, it's just, and she just goes on this massive rant about, am I right in saying he was trained by someone and then killed the trainer.
Yeah.
And then was like, it's just like, what are we doing? Like, what? Like, it would have been better if it had cut back to sort of, I don't know, Powell waking up after he's just been twatted by Matt, and he starts picking up paintings and he starts to see a story that's being told as Fisk's aide is telling the story, rather than just trash. It's just so poorly done. It's bonkers how bad it is.
The thing that it kind of not reminded me of, but made me want, and I know you're not as keen on it in season 3, is the Bullseye backstory and the way that was done. But could we not have had a more unique way of explaining Bastian's past than just these few lines of like, oh, well, he went sort of nuts and then like killed his trainer, lol, he's really good at Taekwondo, so we've just set up why he can fight in this next scene. Come on, he's a fucking artist. Could you not depict it in watercolor or something? All the murals in this show are done by a comic artist called David Mack, and he's done like loads of Daredevil stuff. He's done, I'm pretty sure he did the Jessica Jones comics that the TV series is based on, and they're gorgeous. Could we not have had him design some sort of visual depiction of Muse's backstory? You know, you could have done it like Miss Marvel, even across a wall. You know, it just feels like such a missed opportunity because, you know, all the really intimidating bits of Muse up until this far, personally for me, I've been like, this is really fucking cool. Like, they've built an atmosphere in a way that other Marvel shows haven't really tried to do. In terms of a villain, you know, he feels dirty, grimy, just like genuinely creepy as hell, just scattered in throughout. But we also needed, for this to work, we needed elements of other characters. If they wanted to play up the whodunit kind of aspect, you need other scenes of other characters being a little bit...
You need other red herrings.
You need other red herrings, like we've talked about before, of like, is it Daniel Blake? Is it Powell? Is it somebody... Do you know what I mean? You need those moments of somebody else being creepy to build up the, ooh, who's it going to be? Because this just feels lazy. And I think that's my problem, is that so far, although it hasn't been perfect the entire way through, this show has not been lazy.
No.
And this just feels like a bit of a, I can't be arsed. We just need to move the show on, so we'll just chuck it out here and get rid of him.
Well, it's the thing of, if you compare it to sort of how White Tiger was handled. So White Tiger, when you really think about, is dealt with across 3 episodes, right? And is killed just as swiftly, but the handling and delivery and build-up of this character that you hope gets out and you hope goes back to his home and you hope gets with his family again and is brilliantly performed because we spend time with this character. We sit in a cell with Matt, with him, having these conversations. We stick him on in the witness box. Like, there's so much care given to him so that when he dies, it hurts, right? Now, with this, it's like, it's a box being checked. That's all it is. It's a guy, he turns up, and it's like, you know, I say it time and again, Eammon knows so much more about Matt Murdock than I do. Like, what he knows could fill a book. But, like I've read this run.
Yeah.
I know what Muse is capable of. I know this capability that he has. And to just completely nullify him, like what? For one, he's not even remote. I wouldn't even say he's the same character. Like, he's this short-fused, jittery, stereotypical serial killer who's trying to clearly stop the voices in his head because he has that moment of like static when he's listening to Heather. And yet, if you read the comics, like, Muse is like unhinged, but brilliantly so. He's Buffalo Bill. He's Hannibal. He's like, there are cogs turning, and he's a bit more. He's almost Joker-like. Yeah. He's like, there's an anarchist to him of like, whoops, like, what am I like killing all these people? Like, he enjoys it.
That whole run starts, just to quickly explain, Daredevil basically has a sidekick called Blind Spot, and that whole run starts with Muse establishing himself by literally ripping out Blind Spot's eyes and being like, ha, lol, because of the name. Yeah. And that in itself is terrifying. And although they were never going to do that in this, you're exactly right. It's very much the Joker. It's very much just pure anarchy. Like, and this, I feel like there was an element of that earlier on. You know, when the two women approached him in the street, and just like his mannerisms before Matt approached him, obviously in the subway station. And then obviously now that the switch has happened, because obviously clearly that was a stunt guy, the switch has happened, and obviously Hunter Doohan has started playing him, it does kind of feel like a different character completely. Like, it doesn't match the mannerisms and the personality that, although Muse was kind of silent before, it just didn't really gel well, I think.
No, and that's what annoys me, like, when he's having that conversation. Like, he's just a troubled kid. That's all he is. And it's like, that's 50,000 CSI episodes. Like, that's just, do you know what I mean? There's just nothing new to it. There's just nothing about it that I was like, I'm pretty sure. So, like, from 2016 to 2018 in the comics, he is kicking about for a long time. Admittedly, there's a whole run of him. You know, he's gone. His ghost is there's supernatural elements that kick in. I mean, there's fucking supernatural elements that kick in with the comics anyway because of his powers of him being like the Black Void. But like go back to your point of like I think if you remove such a core element of a character with his powers, right, you need to sell the different kind of product you're now giving the fans, right? Because you're gonna have like people that don't know this character, but what's annoying is they've completely undercut what is a really good character. Yeah, they've just wasted him, and it's like, really, when you boil it down, he's in 2 episodes. He's prominent in 2 episodes of this season, and now he's gone. And it's like, what the fuck were we doing, guys? Like, you know, admittedly, do you go, is this the trigger to draw Matt out, and therefore, as a result of that, draw Fisk out of both of them? You know, like as I was watching the episode this morning, like, when you really look at the entire episode, Daredevil and Matt are actually barely in it. Like he probably has. This is probably so far the least amount of screen time Charlie Cox has had up to this point. It's such a Fisk orientated episode of him getting the news that we think Daredevil's back. Like, and it's like you can see it physically awakens Fisk of being like, right, well, he made a promise, he's broken it, and I'm gonna have to just. You know,
and then is it any surprise that by the end of the episode he's like full gangster Fisk again?
He's full Kingpin. Yeah, he's full Kingpin. But my frustration about this, mate, is like, did you really need Muse to do this? No, you didn't. Because what you could have done is these two have continuously every episode fought to keep their alter egos, quote, at bay, right? Like, we know Fisk has been fighting it, and he's trying to get on top of everyone's if he's trying to win everyone over, wouldn't it not have been a better story to completely remove Muse and have Fisk could have just used the Punisher sort of cult that's forming as the trigger for himself to come out, to be like, I need everyone to be on my page and accept that vigilantes are not a good thing, and costumed freaks don't need to be taking like the law into their own hands. So I will give them the nudge that they need, and then as a result of that, that's what then brings Matt out rather than the other way around. Because it's just Muse is just the trigger. That's all he is this whole season, and it's so frustrating because it's like he's so much more than that, and he's so scary. Like, he's such a scary fucking character.
Yeah. And
to get him to be this stereotypical troubled fucking mentalist, it's boring. It's so boring, and it's so frustrating.
He becomes generic, doesn't he? Like, he becomes a generic serial killer. Like I say, man, 3. Like,
it's a CSI villain. That's all he is. He's the villain of the week, and he's gone just as quickly. And it's just like, what are we doing? And then carry on with your hell section.
No, this is the hell section.
Carry on with your hell section, because I got other. The problem with this, right, for me, is it branches off into other things that I was just like, what are we doing? Like, this is mental. But carry on, because I'm getting wound up.
Well, I mean, part of my issue is that, you know, as you may or may not be aware, both me and Nick are journalists. Obviously, we're kind of, you know, up to date on rumours and reports and stuff. And before the season was out, the showrunner, Dario Scardapane, told TV Line that the Muse storyline, or suggested that the Muse storyline will continue. You know, he said, the Muse run, for lack of a better word, this story has pretty shocking consequences, and those consequences don't end. We're carrying them into season 2 is the best way I can put it. And I'm like, okay, so are we talking consequences as in the ripples of Heather killing Muse, or just Muse in general, or what? Unfortunately as well, like, set leaks of people have spotted that on a trailer there is a sign that says Muse stunt, which people are assuming means that Muse is coming back in some form in season 2. Now, if that's the case, I hope that it's more of the, you know,
could be a copycat.
It could be the hallucination route, which we've kind of discussed before about Foggy, and I could see them doing the angel and devil on Matt's shoulders, one being Muse, other being Foggy, but to me it would be messy. I think it would really depend on how on how it's executed, and I'm iffy on it. But I just think, I don't hate the concept of Heather being the one to kill Muse, because realistically Muse has been obsessed with her. It's the Clarice Hannibal fucking dynamic, of course. I don't hate the fact that she's the one to pull the trigger, but it just feels, I think you said swift earlier, and I was just like,
So this is by far my biggest fucking issue with the whole episode, right? How in God's name, right, can Heather kill Muse and Matt quote, "You did what you had to do"? For a guy who has continuously backed the idea of you don't have to kill people to sort situations out. He's had raging arguments with Frank Castle about this very subject, right?
In this season.
And for some reason, because his missus has done it, he's totally chill. You did what you had to do. Wouldn't it be more interesting of a relationship that's clearly on the verge of crumbling because she's got an issue with vigilantes or people wearing masks to hide behind shit? How interesting would it be for Matt to be so conflicted with the woman that he supposedly is falling in love with, to be like, she's done the very thing that I stand against adamantly, so strongly, she's done it. How interesting would that be to throw into a relationship? But it doesn't matter because he's cool with it. It just makes no sense to me. There's so many other little plot beats in this where I'm like, why is this not being addressed? Why has no one gone, hold on a second, this I don't get. So oh mate. So one big thing that really I don't understand is how Fisk, going slightly off, right? But again, why is no one addressing this elephant in the room? Fisk now knows Daredevil is active again.
Yes.
Right? Why is it not shining more of a spotlight on Fisk? Because we are 7 episodes in, and we still have no idea why he is out of prison and in the mayor's office. There's been no explanation. He goes off on a rant at the start with Book about it was corrupt, it was flawed. I got such, and I'm like, right, you're doing, and it is a Tony Soprano thing. I am gonna plead this case, and to the point, I'm gonna lie so hard that I believe it's the truth. But there's no, fucking BB and fucking Blake's boring chit chat where it's no journalist, there's no press conference, there's nothing to go right. Well, with Daredevil back on the scene, does that highlight the fact that we have his former rival, a guy that he put away in prison, sat in the mayor's office? No one's addressing this. No one's gone, this is really weird. Also, didn't he put you away? Didn't you have a prison sentence because of this guy? Because, oh shit, you used to be a massive criminal crime lord, right? What the fuck are we doing? There's just gaps. There's just gaps through this whole episode of why is this not being addressed? And it really fucking baffles me, mate.
I'm sensing some tension. I get it. I think there's an element of me that is just this show was always going to have Fisk in it, and they're going to try and just brush over it just because this is what needs to happen. This is where the story needs to go. So they don't maybe want to address the specifics, because, or maybe they will address the specifics. We don't know. We've not seen the whole season, Nick.
Yeah, but it's 7 episodes.
Yeah,
man.
yeah. No, I know what you're saying. There needed to be a little bit more.
This could have been dealt with in his first press conference.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I just don't get it. And like I say, you're talking about the sex scene at the start. I've literally written the notes. A forced sex scene and Matt calling Heather sweetie is dire.
That gave me the ick a bit. I won't lie to you.
like not the ick, but I'm just like you've got no chemistry, man. You've got nothing. There is nothing going on. So when he's like, oh God, you're awake. Like the doctor said, they've checked you and we can have you out. I'm like, mate, you should be sat there going, I can't believe you killed someone. Like I cannot believe my girlfriend, who I thought I was on the same page with, legitimately, not just killed someone, mate, emptied a full fucking clip in a guy. Like, what are we doing?
To be fair, I guess, like, to play...
But you did what you had to do.
To play,
don't play devil's advocate.
To play Daredevil's advocate, I guess she's literally just woken up in a hospital. He's not going to go, oi, what the fuck are you doing? Because she's, like, clearly, high on morphine right now.
No, because, mate, if it was... No, hold on. Because if it was better written, it could be. There's no excuses for it. I'm really sorry. Like, it makes no sense to me. It's just... And also, like... Also, her study into vigilante... I've written as a note. Also, her study into vigilante should prove she's shit at her job because she can't tell that the blind guy, who's covered in scars, that sex scene, I'm like, mate, your back looks like a scratch pad. Like, what? Just fuck off.
I mean, if we just flick back to season 1, the Nobu fight, he should have like 2 massive lines across his pecs where that Nobu fight like cut him up like a chopping board. So yeah, how she's not spotted that is beyond me. But no, I think you're right. It doesn't fit Matt's overall sort of personality that we know. So who knows? Maybe this relationship won't last. I fucking hope not.
Fucking hope so.
I did like the fact that Kingpin, manipulates the situation and is like, creates the narrative that the anti-vigilante task force were the ones to kill Muse. I was like, okay, that tracks. Mm-hmm. He absolutely would do that. It's like you say, he's working to his own ends. And I do like that Cole has this sort of moment where he's like, oh, I don't know how I feel about this, but yeah, we did that. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, come on, give me Cole North. I'm really excited to see where that character arc goes, because like,
I think it's wank. I think it's wank so far.
No, I'm not saying I'm enjoying it right now, but as in like, if they are doing Devil's Reign, it could go to some really interesting places. Particularly if Cole and Matt ever actually have a conversation, that would be really interesting. But we'll see.
So this is my one potential theory: is I think there's a possibility that, because in the comics, Cole North essentially becomes like an ally to that, right? I think, how interesting would it be if it's Powell instead?
Oh, that'd be cool. That would be cool.
Not because I'm like, oh, it's changing expectations. I'm like, these two literally have a bit of, they've got a history now.
Yeah. But then surely for me, I'm like, you should have done that with Cole, because Cole then becomes that.
Yeah, but we got what we on? We got 2 episodes left. We're not seeing this. We're not seeing that. Powell, on the other hand, I just think it would be very cool. If it had been Cole from the beginning.
That's what I'm saying. If they'd started strong, and Cole was that person instead of Powell, I think that'd have been amazing. But yeah, if Powell turns,
that would be
really interesting. Like, especially
really cool,
like, man. Considering the the Punisher tattoo and just
mate, just think of all like the back and forth they could be having of being like. I've been hit by billy clubs enough times, mate. I know I'm on the wrong side.
You've literally knocked some sense into me.
Yeah. Oh, mate, it'd be great. And I just think he's a really good actor. Like, he's in a lot of Taylor Sheridan stuff. He's in Mayor of Kingstown or Easttown. It's not Mayor of Easttown because that's Kate Winslet. But yeah, and it's Mayor, not Mayor. But yeah, he's in that, and he's pretty much the same character. He's very like thuggish. Yeah. Trigger happy, like but yeah, it's just fucking god. Anyway, carry on.
I think I've nearly dragged us through hell. Don't worry. I'm gonna try and see the positive side about all this. Hopefully this show and maybe even this episode will sort of push people to read Charles Soule's run of Muse. Because I think the disappointment will be like, oh, is this what it was like in the comics? And obviously you will find that it's not. Spoiler alert, Muse actually takes his own life. and just like walks into fire basically, and it's gnarly as fuck. It's like badass.
He's a mix between like John Doe and the Joker. He's like John Doe from Seven. Yeah. Like he's just like, why not? I just thought I had the idea to. Like he's just mental. He's terrifying. Mm-hmm. So yeah,
I think
this fucking pussy.
I think the show got like the villain side of Muse right. If we're talking about like different, personas, I feel like it got Muse right. It didn't get Bastian Cooper right. Which, by the way, again, in the comics, that's not a thing.
Yeah, because the thing is, am I right in saying we never even find out who Muse actually is?
Unless I'm missing something really glaringly obvious.
There's no backstory. No, there's no back. Also, just completely go off current comics. Mary Jane's Venom. Is that a thing?
That is a thing. I have not been reading all new Venom, but yes, Mary Jane is currently Venom in Marvel Universe. No, that's not a joke. This is not a bit. Yes, that is real. She has a black and gold symbiote. I think it's the same symbiote. It is the same Venom symbiote. Yeah. But yes, Mary Jane.
What?
I don't have an answer for you on that one. So
what the fuck?
Yeah.
Anyway, carry on.
Basically, just go and read Charles Soule's 2016 Daredevil run. It's just fucking ace, basically. I don't know what more I could say on that really, other than just fucking read it. It's great. This episode, not so much. Nick, if you were gonna rate this episode out of Billy Clubs, how many?
Two
Billy
no
Clubs.
question.
All right,
Two.
Cool. I would probably go 2.5. I'm a little bit more generous, but still not great.
Why the 0.5?
I don't feel as strongly towards the sex scene at the start. No, I think just like the fight and stuff, and with Fisk, there's I do think there is some redeeming qualities in this, just not that many. Not enough for me to go, I really enjoyed that one, because I didn't. It really pissed me off. Although one thing I will say is that I did like the little explanation about his suit being made out of canvas. I was like, I like that.
That's cool. I like the crinkle. I like the crinkled on
and
this.
like the staples.
Because like certain angles of like the lighting, it looked almost photoshopped. It was really weird, but like in the best way. It just didn't. It looked like it had this almost like visual, like VFX additional element to it, because it just didn't. It was weird, but really, design is amazing, and it's like even watching it, and he's like wandering around the room talking to Heather. I was like, you're going to see this at fucking Comic-Cons for years to come.
Big time. Yeah.
But you're like, oh, it's that guy from that 2 episodes. What's it called? Like, people. That's what people will be like, man. It's such a shame. But
it is disappointing.
Crack on. Sorry,
and unsurprisingly, the internet has been very vocal about the way that Muse has been treated in this episode, and how that the episode pans out with obviously Heather killing him. So we got had a few little comments on Threads, which has been nice. So if you've been following us on Threads, thank you very much. I asked, be truthful. Did you enjoy the way that they wrapped up the Muse storyline? Our good friend from last week, Potato Halfork.
Oh, nice one.
Potato Halfork replied, in a word, no. Us two.
Amazing.
Us two, Potato Halfork, us two. Then we've got Millennium.Milestone. No, it was a joke. The Muse in the comics was way more interesting than this Taekwondo pretender who, let's just say, is taken out by someone that is not Daredevil and wasted potentially the way that this guy went, and then inserted a Darth Maul gif, which I also appreciated.
Another person familiar with Taekwondo. Who are these people? Like, incredible. Wilson Fisk, mate, you're on your own, man. Like, apparently loads of people know about Taekwondo. Like, someone sat down and wrote that sentence. Imagine. Just, oh my God. That's bonkers.
Put that on a t-shirt.
Are you familiar with karate? Like, what are we... That's, you know what, mate? That's a Dwight Schrute line. You could do... Yeah. Is this a Dwight Schrute line, or is this Daredevil? Are you familiar with Taekwondo? What a fucking joke. Anyway, yes, we've had other people write in. Muse of Fire, your lovely murderous fan with a great name. Writers had delivered a great season. I don't want to criticise their work, but yes, I would have loved Muse got a longer development and more intricated persecution from DD and the authorities. But as the Stone said, you can't always get what you want. Yes, But if we cry sometimes, we'll get what we fucking need, which is more of just... Anyway, very valid points. Very valid point. We've also got one from close ally to Hell's Kitchen. This is our Hell's Kitchen, not the Hell's Kitchen. Bobby Reed's Comics. Honestly, I'm not sure I enjoyed it, but felt slightly rushed. We could have expanded into maybe 2 episodes instead of 1. I did really love the episode, just wanted more.
Fair.
Yeah.
I do think it's got redeemable qualities. I just think the majority of it is just a huge misstep, which is such a shame. Such a shame. Considering this far, it's been pretty strong.
Yeah, like bonkers. Like it's just like I feel like it's gone from Netflix level to previous MCU TV shows level.
Yes. Yeah, that's.
Do you know what I mean? We're like so many shows with so many episodes where we're like, oh, is that done then? Have we done this bit? That part's over. Right, cool. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Just wild.
I don't know, man. I hope that the next 2 episodes, because obviously we've only got 2 episodes left, which is mental in itself. I hope they kind of make up for it. The rumours are, again, I don't know how sort of concrete this is, that from episode 2 to episode 7 are part of the original plan for the show, and everything else, alongside some reshoots and the occasional fight scene, I believe. And then the last 2 episodes are from the creative overhaul. So it'll be interesting to see how that shift changes. But again, that's not concrete. I'm not saying that's specifically what happened. But that's just what a few like Daredevil fan accounts and stuff have pieced together, supposedly. So who knows? It's clearly moving into the sort of Fisk end game of it all. Just with him being like, oh, the Anti-Vigilante Task Force, which is a mouthful every time I try and say that.
ATF.
ATF. Yeah, I'll go with the ATF. Fuck it.
I think as well, I don't know if you're the same, where like it's almost a little bit annoying that spoiler photos leaked photos are coming out for season 2. And season 1's not even finished yet. Yeah. You're just like, because ultimately, like, let's not beat around the bush, right? If Karen's back on the scene, it means Heather's not long for either this world or
the end of the relationship.
Heather Hat, whatever we want to. It's like Brangelina. I'm trying to think of a hybrid. But yeah, it's like we love seeing the leaks, but we don't want to see the leaks because then the leaks prove that our theories are probably right or certain. You know what I know what you're saying.
But if we're talking about leaks. And we are, because I posted the photos onto the social accounts.
I thought you were gonna be like, we are because I fucking want to.
Yeah, we are because I fucking want to. That black suit, baby. Oh,
it's gross.
Boy, that is good. So photos last week leaked of Charlie Cox in the black version of this costume, and mate, it just looks fucking sick. It's just like it's very clearly like this costume spray painted black. So
yes,
there has to be a reason behind why he's doing it. It's not just like, fuck it, I've got a black suit, so I'll stick that one on because my other one's in the dryer. And most importantly, he's got the double D logo on his chest. He's got them double Ds.
He's got his double Ds out. Mate, I do like that. Like, yeah, you can see he's sprayed it. He's essentially sprayed it, and he's blessed it. Does that mean he's like sat down and like, because I know not to be a dickhead, he's blind, right? So how does he cut out DD on a stencil and then put that on his chest? Like, imagine doing it, and he's like, oh fuck, I put it on the back. Oh shit, I put it on the back of it. Fuck. Like,
well, that's getting fucking
let's
clipped,
talk logistics.
Jesus.
Let's talk logistics here. But yeah, I love that his eyes are still red. I love that, like I say, in like the joints and some of the costume, you can see the red is like the black's fading and the red's coming out from underneath. I actually wrote a piece on it for Slash Film because what's amazing as well is, I don't know if you'll agree, there are so many times where we see the amount of times you use the argument when you see a behind the scenes leak of a photo, you go, costume looks shit, and it's like, well, yeah, because it's not got the correct lighting, or we don't know the scene that it's in, or like, mate, every photo looks like he's intentionally gone, Like, let's just let this one leak and let me just fucking
It's
get
the
a good
one with the
pose in.
fire behind him. I was like, holy shit! Like that could be
Mate,
a
not
still.
even that.
Like,
Yeah, no, not only that. There's one of him in front. I'm looking at it now. So I wrote a piece on Slash Film about it and the theories that it could be, and the DD logo, obviously, that he somehow managed to spray paint himself. But where he's like stood in front of a Humvee and he's got like the crouch pose, I was like, he looks fucking brilliant. Like that should. Nobody wrote about enough about that of being like leaked photos actually show. Leaked photos from superhero film actually look good. That should be the headline. So yeah, with black costumes and everything on the show, how much do you think this will be linked to Shadowlands, if it's Shadowlands at all? What's your theory, Mr. Jacobs?
I don't think it's going to do Shadowland like beat for beat, because that is quite a hectic storyline.
So you don't think there's going to be a giant pagoda in the middle of Hell's Kitchen just magically appear?
No, I do not think there is going to be a giant Asian temple slap bang in the middle of New York, a la the Avengers Tower. No, I do not. Do I think Matt is going to be running a criminal network of ninjas through New York? Probably not.
See, Eamon, this is why you're no fun.
However, I feel like it's probably going to do something like the same way that Born Again has borrowed the themes of the Born Again comic. It might do something similar with the black suit, as in, Matt running some sort of group, maybe a Defenders type organization. If, we're going down the anti-vigilante route and the Devil's Reign route, we know that there's quite a lot of rebellion against Mayor Fisk and his sort of, for lack of a better term, private army. So perhaps it's something along those lines. That would be kind of cool. But no, I don't think we're going to get, Daredevil running ninjas through New York. But I'm open to be convinced.
So you brought up an interesting detail earlier that I'm now sort of joining the dots to. And stop me if you think this is a wild idea. Mm-hmm. So you said earlier that the writers have said that the Muse storyline carries on over into season 2.
Yes, it was the showrunner. So he said the consequences will be felt in season 2, which kind of makes me think it's kind of, yeah.
Is it also worth noting that when Daredevil first meets Muse, he is in fact in a black costume?
He is indeed. It's a very good point.
What the fuck, man? What, Like, I think it'd be cool. It would be really interesting if they do go, they bring a copycat out, a copycat comes forward, because they're either stupid for wasting this character off across 2 episodes, or they actually do have a plan and a copycat Muse turns up, because we've not had stories about copycat killers in ages. Bring that back, that would be actually a really interesting detail, and just as another sort of box check-in of and then Daredevil wore a black costume in that storyline. This is the proper Muse storyline. Fisk and Matt are both trying to stop a serial killer who's twice as lethal, twice as fucked up, really enjoys it, X, Y, and Z. That'd be cool.
The current Daredevil, it's the Daredevil Elektra storyline at the minute, is that obviously she's fighting Muse, but Muse is a young woman, and the ghost of the original Muse is helping her. Now, it could be that we get the female Muse, who's just a copycat. She's not literally, she doesn't literally have a ghost teaching her what to do. But again, thematically, it could be along those lines.
Discovers his old artwork, comes across all this stuff.
Something like that. That'd be cool. Again, it depends how it's written and how it's plotted, because if they are doing Devil's Reign and Fisk becoming a little bit more scary, then that's also a lot to contend with. But I'm open to it. It needs to be handled carefully. Basically, is my only concern.
Do we have any confirmation onto when the second season is aiming for release? Is it is it as early as next year, or
it's supposedly early 2026? But again, there is speculation. It's not concrete. Marvel haven't outright said this, but that kind of makes sense. Filming's supposed to last until July at the minute. So we've got a couple more months yet, and then they'll have however many months for post. So we'll see. We'll see. I think like early next year makes sense, given that, you know, we're in April now just, and we're coming to the end of the season. So I can see that happening.
Yeah. I'm intrigued. I'm not going to say this was sort of like this episode shat on me shredders and I don't really want to watch anything going forward. It's a blip. It's just a noticeable blip, and I'm excited because like one thing I noticed, and it could be the algorithm, whatever, but like this morning, the reaction just wasn't present for me at all. Like compared to last week's double bill of being like, fuck yeah, he's back in the costume. Fuck yeah, he's meeting Kamala's dad. This is wicked. Like just tumbleweed. And I think it's probably because I wasn't looking hard enough, but it was just interesting that like, I don't know.
In the time that we've been recording this podcast, mate, we've had more replies on Threads, all of which have been...
What are they saying?
Okay, so Botter Hub, interesting name, has put, I wanted Daredevil to be the one to end Muse. I think it could have led more into the Zdarsky comic arc with an accidental murder. Again, that would have been a little bit more interesting thematically. Mike's MMW said it was way too quick. Teaching Our Us said it was rushed with no real build-up. That said, the storyline was done before the retooling, so they left it for a variety of reasons and tried to sprinkle hints earlier, but the original framework was to make each episode more singularly episodic, like most legal dramas, similar to Law and Order, or CSI, as Nick put it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's... The reaction seems to be like, what the fuck, by and large. So I'm glad it's not just us that were like, god damn it.
Yeah, God, there's nothing worse, isn't it? Where it's like, am I seeing the wrong thing?
Yeah.
But also, like, Eammon, great shout out to you, man, for asking fans to chime in, and we'd love like this has been really nice to see people's feedback and like see their opinions and get their 2 cents. I would like it if you could put it forward this week as to what people's theories are now they've seen the black costume. Eammon rules out ninjas and giant pagodas in the middle of Hell's Kitchen. I personally think that's not a crazy idea. But yeah, feel free to like chime in on what you think, because I think that'd be really interesting. But like you said, we've got 2 episodes left, hopefully ending on a high note. Shall we leave it there for now though? Because I feel like we need to both step away, let off some steam. You know, go and have a breather, open a bottle maybe, and just, you know, wait for all this shit to blow over in a Winchester style. Because, you know, it's just been one of those weeks for Matt. He's had a hell of a week.
I feel like we've exorcised our demons a bit. Matt has had a hell of a week. Yeah, we will love you and leave you there. If you've enjoyed this episode, if we've read out one of your comments, please leave us a review on your podcast provider of choice. That'd be really nice. You know, helps the show grow and whatnot. If you want to join in the conversation and tell us what you think about the black suit and your theories and what you thought of this episode as well, you can tweet us, mention us, all that shenanigans at DaredevilCast. We are the same on every social media platform that we're on. So do that. That'd be nice. I have been at Eammon Jacobs. Nick has been...
at Nick Stanleyforth, weirdly.
Yeah, weirdly. And we will be back next week to talk about the penultimate episode of Daredevil Born Again, which is a bit mental, the fact that it's nearly over. So, yeah, mad one. Stick around, and thanks for listening.
I'm Daredevil. Not even God can stop that now.